I've spent 20 years in public education wondering about how to do this most important of jobs better. And I love standing in rooms full of thousands of people that are wondering the same thing. So I've wondered, since I entered education in the early 90s, why are we so easily able to predict who is going to succeed? And why is that prediction often based on the socioeconomic status of a student's mother? And why did I break that mold? Why did the fact that my parents immigrated from Colombia, speaking no English, why was I able to completely break that? What was it that happened? And when I think about my personal experience within education, I was lucky enough to have built some relationships with some mentors who impacted me more than any textbook has ever impacted me. And those relationships for me were crucial in breaking down what for me were the barriers in understanding how success could possibly be created. So I went into education as social justice, believing very much that opportunity and opening doors is the answer, in many ways, to creating an American society that continues and can continue to innovate. So why am I remarkable? Why did I make it when so many of my high school classmates who came from similar backgrounds to me, why did they end up in the workforce or in jail or continuing to struggle into their 40s? When I managed to make it through university and graduate school, and I couldn't figure out the answers to that. And as I worked in education and found that as I taught American history, I was often told what to teach and what to value. I was told what was nice to know and what the students needed to know. And I found myself wondering why. What made that what they need to know? So what we believe at High Tech High centers around this central idea of reimagining schools. I appreciate that Joel shared with you that when Horace Mann started the vision of education, we were looking at how to create a society, and that society was based on preparing some people to be part of a workforce, right? We did want to create the next workers for industrialization. Who were the ones that were going to be prepared to work on the floor of your business? And so school looked a certain way to prepare them for that, right? Sit in straight rows, read the prescribed text, memorize that information, and represent it so that the teacher can say, correct, you've learned everything I've told you. And those skills were important for a society that was going to create worker bees. But we're not creating that anymore, right? Automation. And the world has changed in the way that we simply create what we do. We're not just making those things on a floor anymore. Instead, we're creating ideas and innovations. And so how do we reimagine school to do that? So at High Tech High, we hear the students say the same thing that everybody hears them saying. And I wonder, as I sit in the school every day, should I not be surprised that they're wondering the same thing? If we offer them the same education that was offered in the 1800s, and that was begun with a very different goal in mind. So how do we reimagine that? How do we avoid the axioms, the things that we believe to be true of education because, well, I mean, they've always been true, right? Why do we separate students by ability level? Why do we create situations where certain students are perceived to be better or more skilled than other students? And why do we separate the hand from the mind? Why do we now sit in a classroom and wait for a teacher on high to share with us the information that they gleaned from the other teacher on high that they learned from, instead of asking students to answer the questions? Why do we care more about the answers that come out on a standardized test than the questions that we ask students to struggle with on a daily basis? And why do we do this in this grand scale where what I know is the name of a student, but I don't know their story or the way that they connect? Why do we separate school from the world? Why do we go back to this Athenian idea of the school on the hill separated from society? when we live in classrooms. I've spent 3 days in your city, and I have enjoyed a massive amount of learning that was made available to me. The MASP is great, by the way. Really enjoyed it. At High Tech High, our school was founded first on 3 important integrations. Number 1, we believe that all students should exist in the same classroom, learning the same thing at the same time. Because we don't believe that by using perceived ability levels and separating students out, that students benefit. In fact, what we believe is that serves to further stratify and divide American society in a way that we don't believe. Because the reality is, when you start to divide students by ability level, inevitably what will happen is they will begin to separate on socioeconomic lines, and they will begin to separate on racial lines. And that does not benefit any of us if we are not in the same room benefiting from our varied perspectives. We also believe in integrating the curriculum. So instead of going to a history classroom, which you then leave, I'll refer back to Joel's visual, then you walk into your English classroom, which you then leave, and then you walk into your math classroom, we integrate. So you have a humanities teacher that's pulling together your history and your English content, and you have a team of teachers who are working together to create projects for you that integrate and pull together information, because isn't that how we experience it in the adult world? I've never, since my calculus class in college, been asked to sit down and come up with my calculus answer to a problem, right? I've never been asked to just sit down and come up with something in a vacuum of just my one topic. Instead, what I have been asked to do, tasked to do, is to problem solve using the massive amount of information that I've learned and to integrate that in a way that forms real, new answers, innovates. And finally, we believe in connecting the school to the world. Why do we keep students in a classroom when the world is massively available for our students to learn from? So instead of reading about a tiger in a book or experiencing it on a website, why aren't we at the zoo, talking to zoologists and acting as a zoologist would act in order to learn? We also believe in 4 major design principles, and these are the principles by which our schools are designed. The most important one is personalization. We believe in limiting the size of classrooms, so we average 26 students per class. We believe that students learn best when their teachers are constantly communicating not only with each other, but with them and with their parents. We believe in advisory groups, which are small groups where students come together with one adult in the building simply to build a relationship that's more than just someone who's about to give them a grade on an assignment, because we believe truly knowing our students is the way that we can personalize best for them, whether that be through their math skills or through understanding that something might be happening at home and we need to provide them with more support so that they can continue to be successful. We also believe that students should pursue their passions. And so a well-formulated project, a real inquiry-based question that you can answer in your way, and I can answer in my way, and you can answer in your way, but all of those things push me to be the best learner I can be. We believe that that relationship of the student to the content creates deep and meaningful learning. We also believe in those relationships. Really are central. I would ask all of you for just a moment to think about something that happened to you in high school or maybe middle school, that you remember that learning. You remember something that happened, and some lesson stuck with you. I would guess that there's a teacher involved in that experience for you. And you could probably tell me the name of that teacher or coach or whoever it was, because that relationship was directly related to the learning experience that was created where you remember. We also believe strongly in what we call our common intellectual mission. That means we are all learning, all together, all the time. We don't divide students by ability level. We don't track them. We also believe that we as teachers are learning with you. We want to ask hard questions with you. We don't want to hold the answer and then secretly put it on a test and then ask you to answer it correctly for us. We believe instead that we should all be actively engaged in this idea of learning and figuring and deciphering and wondering together. And in that relationship, we have a common mission to come together to understand our world better. And we also believe that promotion and graduation should be linked to that performance, not the performance or the outcomes based on a test. That's what we believe. We also believe that this classroom needs to be connected to the adult world. We believe that, and we manifest that in a few different ways. Number one, we have a strong internship program where in the junior year, our 11th graders spend 3 weeks out in the real world conducting work. They are required to work in a job setting where they're doing something real and necessary for the program they're working for. So what I mean by that is we don't want them to just go do clerical work. They're not there just to file papers or to answer phones. They're there to produce something meaningful and important. Many of them end up using their technology skills. I've seen many of them help to develop web pages or additional web access points. I've seen many of them also use their skills with different computer programs to be able to help organize. But it can be more than that, too. As long as they're doing real work so that they can really see what high school, more importantly, what college and being college ready means to be able to make it out into the real world and how their lives can change as a result. We believe in our projects having a life beyond a teacher's desk. So we believe that having our students exhibit their work in a real-world atmosphere and having it live and have meaning for more than just them creates that buy-in where they don't ask themselves anymore, what's the purpose of this? Because the purpose is clear. And we also believe strongly in bringing the outside in as well. So if you're going to study some concept, let's say architecture, the best person to hear from is an architect, right? Instead of a teacher explaining what it's like to be an architect. So we always want to strive to break down those walls and ensure that our students are getting out and that the real world is getting in. We also believe strongly in the idea of our teachers as designers of their courses. So while we do follow the state standards of the state of California, we believe strongly in hiring a teacher workforce that believes in these 4 important design principles and that wants to bring a passion for what they're going to teach and that is excited about designing a curriculum and designing a course and designing projects that ask students to really explore deeply what they're teaching. We also believe that it's best if they are passionate about what they're teaching. Not just about teaching itself, but also about what they're teaching. Towards that end, we have a graduate school of education that's embedded within our high school. In that graduate school, many of our teachers participate in courses that are meant to look at a lot of these issues that we're studying to improve our practice. And because project-based learning and teaching in this way is not something that everyone just knows how to do, it doesn't come up in a lot of teacher training programs, we spend a lot of time in staff meetings and in professional development. In fact, most of our schools meet 2 to 4 mornings a week for over an hour just to be prepared and to share. And as part of that teacher as designer, we also believe strongly in a collegial relationship that involves collegial coaching, and that involves critique, and that involves sharing what we're learning. Towards that end, I want to mention now that if you go to the High Tech High website, you can access every teacher's digital portfolio where we all actively share the content and the projects that we're developing because we believe that shouldn't be a secret, right? Why should we keep any of these things when, if they are best for kids, and if the results that we're seeing are replicable, and if we continue to see the results that we're seeing, why shouldn't we share this with everyone, right? You might be wondering about our results because our model is a little bit different. Well, 100% of our students qualified go to the UCs, 100% are admitted to college. The number that we are most proud of is that according to the Clearinghouse, which is a data system that helps to provide information about graduates, 3 years after graduating from high school, 82% of our students are still in college. Because what we of course know is it's one thing to get into college, and it's another thing to stay and be successful. I didn't mention our demographics early on, and I'd like to mention that. One of the things that we strive to do at High Tech High is to create a microcosm of society. So if we believe in integration, right, in everyone learning together in the same place, then we need to create a little mini city within our school walls. So in San Diego, we are 38% Latino. Our school is 38% Latino. We are 6% African American. So is our school. We are 40% below the poverty line. So is our school. So we strive to have a school that really reflects the society in which they walk every day. So we're proud to say that 82% of our students continue into college into their third year. And this to us shows that they are learning skills, interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, deep thinking, inquiry-based skills that exceed simply knowing something from a reading or from a more traditional approach. We're proud of that number because we believe that that's what really illustrates how our students succeed. There are other key elements. I know that some of you may be curious about what some of these are. This is all available, again, on our website. There are links here, which I know are available on the Transformar website. But I want to go back because there are a couple of other key things. The third point here says voice, choice, and ownership. One of the things we strongly believe is that for students to feel connected to their learning, they have to feel like they own it. They have to feel like it has meaning for them and that it's going to transform not only their life, but that it's going to in some way benefit them. And we believe that the projects and using teachers as designers and as co-designers and as learners with our students helps to create that drive. And we see it in the results. We also believe in exhibitions. I wanted to say one last word about that. We believe that students need to present to people who can give them real feedback on their work. So if you're going to help to design a new home, to respond to the needs of San Diego County and to be more green, who better to present to than a series of green architects who could then speak to you about that project and actually tell you what does and doesn't work, because we want our students to be open to that level of critique and that level of exhibition and to feel comfortable to say, as we do, we're not sure if this is exactly right, but we're wondering what you think about it. So, in closing, you're all invited to San Diego. We love visitors, and we love any new perspective on what we're doing. We love to get pushed and to think and rethink about what we're doing. We love questions, and we love your help in finding the answers as well. Thank you.